Judith chapter 15. On hearing what had happened, those still in their tents were horrified. Overcome with fear and dread, no one kept ranks any longer. They scattered in all directions and fled along every path, both through the valley and in the hill country. Those who were stationed in the hill country around Bethulia also took to flight. Then the Israelites, every warrior among them, came charging down upon them. Uzziah sent messengers to Bethel-Mastaim, to Chobah and Konah, and to the whole territory of Israel to report what had happened and to urge them all to attack the enemy and destroy them. On hearing this, all the Israelites, with one accord, attacked them and cut them down as far as Chobah. Even those from Jerusalem and the rest of the hill country took part in this, for they too had been notified of the happenings in the camp of their enemy. The Gileadites and the Gileans struck the enemy's flanks with great slaughter, even beyond Damascus and its borders. The remaining people of Bethulia swept down on the camp of the Assyrians, plundered it, and acquired great riches. The Israelites, when they returned from the slaughter, took possession of what was left. Even the towns and villages in the hill country and on the plain got an enormous quantity of spoils, for there was a tremendous amount of it. Then the high priest Joachim and the senate of the Israelites, who lived in Jerusalem, came to see for themselves the good things that the Lord had done for Israel, and to meet and congratulate Judith. When they came to her, all with one accord blessed her, saying, "You are the glory of Jerusalem. You are the great pride of Israel. You are the great boast of our nation. By your own hand you have done all this. You have done good things for Israel, and God is pleased with them. May the Almighty Lord bless you forever." And all the people said, "Amen." For 30 days all the people plundered the camp, giving Judith the tenth of Holofernes, and all his silver, his beds, his dishes, and all his furniture. She took them and loaded her mule, hitched her carts, and loaded these things on them. All the women of Israel gathered to see her, and they blessed her and performed a dance in her honor. She took branches in her hands and distributed them to the women around her, and she and the other women crowned themselves with olive leaves. Then, at the head of all the people, she led the women in the dance, while the men of Israel followed, bearing their weapons, wearing garlands, and singing songs of praise. Judith led all Israel in this song of thanksgiving, and the people loudly sang this hymn of praise. Judith chapter 16. And Judith sang, "Strike up a song to my God with tambourines. Sing to the Lord with cymbals. Improvise for him a new song. Exalt and acclaim his name. For the Lord is a God who crushes wars. He sets his encampment among his people. He delivered me from the hands of my pursuers. The Syrian came from the mountains of the north. With myriads of his forces he came. Their numbers blocked the wadis. Their cavalry covered the hills. He threatened to burn my territory, put my youths to the sword, dash my infants to the ground, seize my children as plunder, and carry off my virgins as spoil. But the Lord Almighty thwarted them by the hand of a female. Not by the youths was their champion struck down, nor did Titans bring him low, nor did tall giants attack him. But Judith, the daughter of Merari, by the beauty of her face brought him down. She took off her widow's garb to raise up the afflicted in Israel. She anointed her face with fragrance oil, fixed her hair with a diadem, and put on a linen robe to beguile him. Her sandals ravaged his eyes, her beauty captivated his mind. The sword cut through his neck. The Persians trembled at her boldness. The Medes were daunted at her daring. When my lowly ones shouted and my weak ones cried out, the enemy was terrified, screamed and took to flight. Sons of maidservants pierced them through, wounded them like deserters' children. They perished before the ranks of my Lord. I will sing a new song to my God. O Lord, great are you and glorious, marvelous in power and unsurpassable. Let your every creature serve you, for you spoke, and they were made. You sent forth your spirit, and it created them. No one can resist your voice. For the mountains to their bases are tossed with the waters. The rocks, the wax melt before your glance. But to those who fear you, you will show mercy. Though the sweet fragrance of every sacrifice is a trifle, and the fat of all burnt offerings but little in your sight, one who fears the Lord is forever great. Woe to the nations that rise against my people! The Lord Almighty will requite them. In the day of judgment he will punish them. He will send fire and worms into their flesh, and they will weep and suffer forever. When they arrived at Jerusalem, they worshipped God. As soon as the people were purified, they offered their burnt offerings, voluntary offerings, and donations. Judith dedicated to God all the things of Holofernes that the people had given her, putting under the ban the canopy that she herself had taken from his bedchamber. For 3 months, the people continued their celebration in Jerusalem before the sanctuary, and Judith remained with them. When those days were over, all of them returned to their inheritance. Judith went back to Bethulia and remained on her estate. For the rest of her life she was renowned throughout the land. Many wished to marry her, but she gave herself to no man all the days of her life, from the time her husband, Manasseh, died and was gathered to his people. Her fame continued to increase, and she lived in the house of her husband, reaching the advanced age of 105. She set her maid free, and when she died in Bethulia, they buried her in the cave of her husband, Manasseh. And the house of Israel mourned for 7 days. Before she died, she distributed her property to the relatives of her husband, Manasseh, and to her own relatives. During the lifetime of Judith, and for a long time after her death, no one ever again spread terror among the Israelites.